let's take a look at those. You can walk us through those, and we'll put it up on the website later. And your simplifications. Number one, abortion and abortion funding. What does that mean?
Amendment number one, the Love Life Amendment would simply, Robert, make it impossible as a constitutional matter for any justice, like a Louisiana Supreme Court justice, to say, no, we're going to do the same thing the Roe v. Wade court did. We're going to say, in the liberty interest of our due process clause, there's a right to abortion also. We're cutting off that possibility by saying, in our state constitution, we're not funding or allowing abortion in Louisiana.
Whoa. So no more abortions in Louisiana if Amendment 1 passes.
That's right. Aaron, keep in mind, right now, Roe v. Wade is still the law of the land, but if Roe v. Wade is ever reversed, then it will be the way it was in 1973, which is that each state individually makes the decision about whether or not to allow abortion.
So we'd still be under Roe v. Wade, but if that ever changed, then this amendment would kick in?
Yes, it's like a trigger constitutional amendment. It's already there in case Roe v. Wade is ever reversed, because some 13 states which have gone in a different direction have found in their state constitutions really the exact same thing Roe v. Wade did in our national constitution.
And that one's the simple one. Proposal number 2, oil and gas assessment. What is that one?
Oh, boy, sounds like taxes.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Today, my true colors get to come out. Robert, oil and gas well taxes would be able to be assessed based on something new called the income approach. And in the simplest terms, what that means is a very productive well would understandably pay greater taxes, but one that hasn't produced in years would pay very little. Right now, I talked to someone with the oil and gas industry. They said they know of a company that sold a well for $8 million, but it's being assessed on a value of $90 million because of what it used to do. But it hadn't had that production in years. So all they're doing is saying, what is the income of this well, and we're going to base the taxes on that.
Number 3 has to do with rainy day disaster fund for the state. This is a really tough one to understand, or did I just read too much into it?
No, Robert, you didn't. All these are kind of detailed, but the rainy day fund, Robert, it's always raining in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm kidding, of course. I love our state. What this does is it would say a vote for this would allow the budget stabilization fund or the rainy day fund to be tapped when there's a federally declared disaster or for a bunch of other reasons. And that's what scares me, the bunch of other reasons.
Me too.
Right now, and nothing against them, it's just the nature of elected officials. If money is available, they're going to spend it. So I would rather leave our rainy day fund strictly for a rainy day, meaning for a budget shortfall or some downturn in our economy.
Okay, proposal number 4, see if I've got this right. It would limit the expenditures, the allowed expenditures of the state's general fund. Am I even in the ballpark on that one?
You are. And again, a fiscal conservative would say not just Louisiana, but any state would benefit from this. What it means is our annual state budget expenditure limit, which is assessed every year, that whole revenue in 6 seconds, that whole revenue estimating conference, we have to balance our budget each year, by the way. Constitutionally, we have to balance it. Our revenue estimating conference tries to truly estimate what funds are going to be available to spend each year. What we're saying, not me, what this amendment is saying is that our annual state budget expenditure limit could not increase by more than 5% of the budget.
Okay, tax exempt. Proposal number 5, a tax exemption for manufacturers. Explain that one. Everybody, some. What's the breakdown?
Look, to me, anything we can do to make Louisiana more business friendly and anything we can do to help economic development. That's right, Robert. Instead of property taxes, a local manufacturer in a parish, say Caddo or East Baton Rouge, could work out a deal with local government and say, you know what, we think it would benefit us, and they're allowed to do it, to make payments to you instead of property taxes. And that it creates a new option for a manufacturer to pay less, but the local government knows in advance, well, we're making this deal with the manufacturer, so we know we're getting these payments for sure. we're not waiting on what the taxes do. And for the manufacturer, they'll almost always end up paying less taxes.
Proposal number 6, an increase. Explain this one to me. I was a little puzzled. Residential property exemption. Walk me through this.
Absolutely. An expanded property tax freeze. Right now in our state, our homestead exemption is we think of it as 75, but it's about 77,000. That's where you can't be over and still freeze your property taxes if you're 65 or older, if you're a disabled veteran, if you're a surviving spouse of a member who served in the military, or if you're totally disabled. Those grounds are grounds that you can freeze your property taxes, Robert, but you can only do it up at 77,000. This would allow you to do it up to 100,000.
Now, this last one is not a constitutional amendment, is that right?
There's still one more proposal.
No, it is.
Okay.
Robert's right. One more.
This is just. Excuse me, Royal. This goes back to this like year-long fight between Treasurer John Schroeder and Governor Edwards about the state's right to dip in to sort of take over the unclaimed property trust fund. And this would literally put into the Constitution, no, it's protected money, right?
That's exactly right, Robert. That you've taken my explanation from me. The unclaimed property protection, the unclaimed property program would be put in a trust fund and only be used to refund. And again, when people move and they don't, say insurance payments are still coming to them to their old address, they never get them. A utility bill, we pay, for example, a deposit. You're never there anymore. You never get your deposit back. All of those funds, and they're substantial, would either be used in the general fund or not if this thing passes.
Okay, and is the last one, is this some sort of proposition? What is this?
It is. As though we don't have enough gambling, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course, but this proposition would be to allow sports betting by parish. Each sports wagering is defined as basically the business of accepting wagers on any sports event or sports contest. So it would be allowed in each parish, much the way we've approved a bunch of the other gambling we have in Louisiana, parish by parish. I mean, the argument is people already bet illegally on football, basketball, and other games. Mm-hmm. If this passes, we would legalize it, regulate it, and then tax it.
Is there a possibility that this could turn into the same kind of mess that sports fantasy gambling has turned into? Is there a plan? Is anybody planning on this passing and putting together proposed legislation for when it does pass? Or is this one of those things, if it's approved, if the proposal passes, it's going to be another 2 or 3 years before it actually happens?
You know, that's a great question. The Louisiana's Gaming Control Board is the entity that will end up, assuming this passes, the sports wagering, they will be the ones who have to set up the regulations for it.